I need.
Surprise! I know that scares you every time.
Great. So, hello. How's everybody today? For the folks joining us virtually, you missed out on some good pinto beans and cornbread in the spirit of the book, and we also had donuts from a bakery in Logan. And they were pretty yummy as well. And then we've got bazooka gum. So if you start hearing people blowing bubbles, that's what's happening here. So want to welcome our special guest today, Katherine Manley, our author of our last book for 2024. Don't Tell Him You're Cold. So we're super excited to have you here. She drove. She's going to be spending the night, but she came up from Southern West Virginia. Do you still live in Logan? Okay, wonderful. So before we start talking about this book, let me tell you about our 2025 West Virginia Living Book Club selections. We've got our spring one is Tiny Worlds of the Appalachian Mountains, An Artist's Journey by Rosalie Hazlett. In the summer, that first meeting will be March 20th in 2025. Our summer book is A Killing in the Hills by Julia Keller. It's the first of a series of 8 books, and that's a murder mystery type book. It's very good. The fall issue is Making Our Future, Visionary Folklore and Everyday Culture in Appalachia, and this is by Emily Hillard. We're going to be excited to have her here as well. And then a special treat in the winter is we have Bill Lepp. Has anybody heard or ever got to talk to Bill Lepp? It should be very entertaining. He is going to talk about his latest book, Half Dollar. So that is our fourth book. So for those that are new to our book club, we always choose a book that is by a West Virginian or about West Virginia, or a book printed by and distributed through WVU Press. So that's where we choose from. So after we're finished today, if you want to go ahead and sign up for the 2025 book club, Megan will be in the back and can give you at least 2 of the books we have, and we will ship you the remaining 2 books when they come in. So,
a note for virtual folks is that the book club page on westvirginialiving.com, wvliving.com, has been updated, and so you can sign up them online.
So go to I think it's wvliving.com/book club, right? Yep. So pretty easy to find. So the book that we're here to discuss today, Don't Tell Him You're Cold, is a powerful, moving memoir about growing up in Southern West Virginia. And I think this book really sneaks up on you. It is hard and it can be a little painful to read at points, but it's never, I thought, interestingly, negative or deprecating. In every chapter, there's really a sense of hope. As someone who grew up in Clay County, there were many points things that I had forgotten about growing up when I read the book, that also, things that I had wanted to forget that kind of would sneak up on me. But the memoir was a semifinalist in the William Faulkner writing competition, and Katherine has earned multiple awards for teaching as well, including a finalist for the West Virginia Teacher of the Year, the Arch Cole Teacher of the Year, and Prodigy Foundation Teacher Achievement Award, given in memory of the Rocket Boys' beloved teacher, Frida J. Riley of Coalwood, West Virginia. And I'm sure as you're going to be able to read some tonight and talk about sections and answer questions. This is a book, as I think all of you would agree, after reading it, it really never leaves you. So thank you so much for coming and for the gift of this book.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here in Granville. First time I've been here. I've been to Morgantown several times, Bridgeport and Clarksburg. So that's how far north I go. But thank you so much, and for Natalie Webb for reaching out to West Virginia Magazine, and the wonderful write-up that you did. Thank you very much. And for Nikki, thank you so much. And if you don't mind, I'd like to begin just with a little bit of reading. Before I became an author, I would go hear other authors, and I just loved to hear them read. And I remember Denise Jardini, the first time I went, I thought I would just sit there and camp out like, I just want to hear you read. But so I'm just going to read. I'm reading this decorating, and I'll tell you a little bit about where this came from. But I'm assuming that most folks have read this part. I hope don't want to give anything away. But my mother had run away, and this was an old cold camp house, layers of wallpaper, rough blankets, and no scatter rugs. Just every spring you had to, if you lived in a cold camp, you try to get wallpaper and paper because the little gas stoves turned the wallpaper yellow every year. But this is decorating. Dear God, I miss Mommy. I wonder where she went. These past few weeks have been hard since she left. Daddy talked to a few of her friends, but they didn't know anything. I've been thinking about Mommy and Daddy. He's 56 and doesn't feel well most days. Mommy was 37, full of fun and got around quicker than a jack in the box. Was he too old for her? Is she out there dancing in that pink outfit now? Is that what she needed to do? Daddy won't even talk about her. I'm trying hard to be brave, but there's so much work to do, and I'm missing out. I don't have much free time. I love to walk the tracks with Debbie or watch the boys play baseball in the field behind her house. Oh, well, maybe I feel a little better if we had money to decorate. I can't stand these upside down gazebos and Southern bells anymore. Why did Mommy hang this wallpaper upside down like she did the acrobats in the other room? Well, Margaret and I would like to have a pink bedspread and curtains now that we share the same bedroom. I hate those 50-cent plastic curtains. The flowers disappear more each time we wash them. And we have too many Jesus calendars. We have Jesus walking on the water, Jesus knocking on the door, Jesus holding the baby lamb, and Jesus praying in the garden. I'll keep Jesus on the cross because that one says it all. And maybe I'll keep that angel watching those little children walk across the bridge. And I'll keep Mother Mary with that heart necklace. Mother Mary, mother to Jesus and us all. I'll keep one calendar with that almanac. We use that as a guide for everything, God, even wallpapering. Maybe my wallpaper cracked in here because Mommy papered in the wrong phase of the moon. Maybe that's why the kraut rotted in the jars. It was canned in the wrong side. I would also like to have covers for the couch and chair and a new linoleum rug. A table lamp would be nice so we can see each other at night. We don't even have one lamp, God. Maybe with the living room looking halfway decent, I could invite a friend over. I can't decorate anymore tonight, God. I'm just too sleepy. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Okay, how that chapter, I have to tell you this. As I was writing, and I was letting certain people read, beta readers read, if you will, but they will tell you what you need to add, what's missing, or you need to describe this, or tell us how did you get from the river to the bank? You got to tell us. And so somebody, actually Jim Minnick, he wrote the Blueberry Year Smoke. Jim Minnick's well known. He read for me, and he said, I did one of these little things, right? One of these, I call them letters to God. And Meredith Sue Willis, who read, she's the one that said, she said, oh my gosh, this is awesome. She said, we love this. You're allowing the reader to see more about Kathy. You're allowing them to get inside her head. Her mother's ran away and she doesn't have anybody to talk to. So we're seeing Kathy, what she's doing when she's in bed at night. And then they said, can you do any more? So I forgot. I know I put another one in here, and I said, okay, I'll do that. So at that time, that's what everybody was telling me to do. So that's how that came about. And so without further ado, I'll go back now. My writing journey began. When I graduated high school, I never ever dreamed that I would have a story I just went to work immediately. You got up, you put your clothes on, you go to work. That's what you do. And I started working. I was blessed with so many wonderful jobs. I was a secretary, switchboard operator. I worked for an attorney. I worked for coal companies. I did so many things. And one of my favorite things was doing a switchboard operator. I ran one of those old timey trunk line, those like Lily Tomlin did on Laughing, the trunk like hello, and I'd plug everybody in. That was so much fun. I thought, gosh, this is awesome. I'm getting paid to do this. But, and then my husband, I had our first child, and I wanted to teach so bad. Oh, I wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to be a teacher. And so I looked at him and I said, I think I want to be a teacher. They're having classes up here at the college. He said, okay, go ahead. And I did. And that was my journey to become a teacher. And I never, ever, ever regret it. I love teaching. I love being in the classroom. I miss my students. I miss being there. And someone asked me tonight in the audience, when did I realize I was poor? And I thought, right from the get-go. I mean, it didn't take me long. When we grew up in that little house in Paint Creek, the shambles and the rough lumber and the cracks and everything. And then definitely by the time I had to walk across the road to the school, first grade, you see children are aware. You see other people that have, better clothes than you and things like that. And so I knew that. But then when we moved to Mud Fork, I was telling the lady tonight, I said, the coal camp had like rows of, like there were 4 houses in a row, then an alley, then 4 houses in an alley, where there were like 16 houses. And our house had blistered paint. I mean, it'd been 3 or 4 different colors and you couldn't tell what was what. It was faded and worn. The boards on the porch were raised like pianos. Keyboards on a piano, up, down, and no underpinning. And the concrete blocks that it sat on, they were falling apart. It was almost caving in. But all around me were people that living in aluminum siding houses. That was the thing back then, aluminum siding houses and something called insul brick that was either green insul brick or there was red or dark brown. And then ours was like, and then the roof was caving in like so. So I knew that, it was different. And I told the lady, we were talking there a few minutes ago, and I said, the one thing that gets me today as an adult is when people that I grew up with, and I knew that they lived in one of those aluminum siding houses. Their parent, they made $800 a month, coal miner, and we got $90 a month. And they had nice cars, nice porches with nice chairs and grassy yards. But they'll walk up to me today and they'll say, honey, I was poor just like you. I didn't have anything. We all were poor, weren't we? And I just say, yeah. Yeah, we were all poor, but they don't mean any harm by that. I think sometimes they do that to make you feel more comfortable. But so, I knew that. But we did not have a writing friendly home, even at the Paint Creek house or Mud Fork. There was not any extra paper. You might find a pencil that you had to sharpen with a little knife, for mom to write her store bill on. And I think back then teachers did not realize when they were giving you homework that not everyone had nice little sheets of paper at home and pencils and things, and you didn't have encyclopedias to look up the rivers you were supposed to write about. So it was challenging trying to be a student and go to school back then because we didn't have that much. But we didn't have the paper and there were no books. I don't ever remember a book being in the house or a magazine or a newspaper. There was nothing like that. So it wasn't until I went, I think, junior high school, there was a library in the school. And during study hall, you were given a pass, you'd go to the library. And that's when I discovered Nancy Drew. I should have discovered her way back then. And then there were some of the old pioneer tales of Daniel Boone. I read stuff like that. And that was good. But no, that was part of my writing journey. There was nothing. And then after I graduated high school, I did go to college. And I was blessed. I wanted to become a teacher, and there were no writing classes then. I think we had a couple of research classes, but it was until, goodness gracious, like 1995, 96, I was working on an extra degree, And there was a writing class that came up from Marshall to Chapmanville Middle School. And somebody said, oh, you need to take that. You're working on an English degree. You need to take that. And so I did. I dreaded it. I thought, oh, my gosh, more research. But it wasn't. It was the West Virginia Writing Project, directed through Dr. Fran Simone. It was 3 weeks. And she said, I just want you to write 3 pieces. You'll write 1 piece a week, get in groups. You'll edit, and you'll analyze, and you'll polish it. And then after that, it's over. So the first day, I wrote my piece, and we turned it in. And she came to me the next day, and she said, where did you get this idea? And I said, well, it happened to me. And I can't remember right now. I'm sorry, I didn't check my notes. I don't remember if it was, I think it was Bubblegum Man. I really do. I think it was Bubblegum Man. And because she had that published in, let's see, Folklore, Western Humanities Council Folklore magazine at Fairmont, of Dr. Judy Byers and Dr. Noel Tenney, but it was published there in one of the magazines. And so then I wrote another piece for her. It might have been the blackberry picking story. And then I wrote something. She kept saying, can you write another? And so finally I looked at her one day and I said, I thought I was supposed to only write 3 pieces, 3 weeks. And, you're working me to death. And she said, but you don't understand. She said, your stories are great. And you keep on. She said, one day you will have a book. And I looked at her like, what? She said, you will have a book. So, I need that. Sometimes we need validation in life. You need somebody to tell you you can do that. Because I was telling somebody tonight, I really didn't know I had anything. I knew my life was different, but I remember when we were just sitting around the lunchroom talking, or people just telling stories, and I'd say, yeah, when I was a little girl, I had to help my daddy drive the truck with a stick. He'd tell me, give it the gas. And then they would just say, oh, well, when I grew up, my grandfather kept a horse in the living room, and I'm thinking, oh, I don't have a story because I don't have a horse. I don't have anything in the living room. So I just sort of swept it under the rug. And it was only until Dr. Fran Simone started telling me, you have a story, and I think it needs to be told. And I remember first time I got out of Logan, I was accepted for the Appalachian Summer Seminar at Fairmont through Dr. Judy Byers. And I remember driving up here, and she said, I want you to go over and start talking to these people. I said, okay. And she led me around there, and she said, just say something. I'd say, okay, hello, my name is Kathy. Today is Wednesday. And they said, oh, say something else. I thought, what? But anyhow, they pointed out to me, your accent is different. And I thought, I sound just like you all. And they said, no, you don't. So and then I was interviewed. So I remember, speaking of the accent, one lady here tonight asked me the part where I took my students to Europe, and we were talking about a change. Someone asked me, what can we do, blah, blah, to help? And I said, well, students that live in poverty, they come from noisy, chaotic environments, and their world is survival. They live with a survival brain, and we have to do everything we can to turn off that survival brain, turn it into a learning brain. And there's strategies I do as I speak to schools, and I've trained teachers and talk to students to try to how to get more out of the classroom and how to learn, how to be more productive. But I did take my students to Europe 2 years in a row. Anyone that could sign up, and I helped raise money to take them. I bought a cotton candy machine. I put that on Visa, and I hid it from my husband, if he ever hears it. And then I bought a funnel cake machine, and I thought, boy, these two good things will make money at fairs. So I did. And I had popcorn machine belonged to the school, but I was always popping, swirling, flipping, frying, trying to raise money. But I did take my students, and I'll never forget this. We got on this. Trust me, I'll give you the question and answer, but I got to tell you this story because students need to get out. They need experiences. You need to show them what is out there. How will they ever know? You have to show them this is what is out there. This is beyond poverty. Reach for it. But we were on the plane, and I asked the stewardess, I said, I would like to see, my students and I are traveling to London and some other countries. And I said, I would like to see the front of the plane. I would like to see the cabin where they fly, not the cabin, but the front of the plane. She said, I said, the cockpit. She said, they don't look too good today. And I said, what? She said, they don't look too good today. One of them is a Q-tip, white hair. Okay, Q-tip. I never heard of it. And one of them is British. Okay, we were on British Virgin one. Okay, Richard Branson. I said, oh, I don't care what they look like. I just want to see what it's like up there. I want to see the butts and knobs and everything. So anyhow, she came back and she said, he said he would come back and get you. Just let us get up and do our thing and get up in the air. And I thought, oh, that's fine, because it's what, about 6 or 8 hours going across the ocean, like if you leave at night, like 8:30 or something, whatever time was. So I waited patiently. So then I was about to doze off, but then there came this big, tall gentleman, almost looked like Sir John Gielgud from like the Arthur movies, and wearing that outfit, that nice outfit. And he bent down and he was looking at the numbers, and he looked down at me, and I went, he said, "Are you the teacher from the States?" And I said, "What? Are you the teacher from the States?" I said, "United States." I was half asleep. So anyhow, he said, "Come on." So then he walked me up there, and he let me sit down, put on the headphones. They're right behind him, and he introduced the co-pilot and then the navigator. They were so sweet and so nice. And I remember seeing a plate of grapes and cheese and crackers there, but no one was flying the plane. They were just there, and then he would just have, "Would you like a grape? Would you like this, like that?" And then I thought, you're not touching any of the controls, whatever. But I just remember that. It was absolutely awesome. But my students, I went back and I told them about it, but it was wonderful. And that was the first time I saw Big Ben. And I did cry. Yes, I did. Because my daddy, I said, "Oh my gosh, Daddy, I'm here." And you're right. Big Ben is real. So that's a little bit about my writing journey. And I'm almost finished with I'm going to let you ask me some stuff. But the pathway to writing, you cannot give up. You have to hang in there. You're going to have some disappointments. You're going to have some rejections. And I do remember Kat Pleska from Mountain State Press that eventually ended up, taking the book, accepting manuscript. She put me in touch with Abby Freeland from Western University Press, and Abby loved this book so much, and I'm so thankful to her. She's somewhere else now. I think she's in Kentucky, I think. But anyhow, she wanted this, and I did not realize that University Press does things differently. They have to take your manuscript, and then they get reviewers. And I had really good, 2 excellent reviews on the book. But one lady, an English teacher from Kentucky, an English teacher, she didn't like the book. She said it was nothing more than just a common coal camp tale. And she said there are several of them, there are like dozens around, and said she could not recommend it. And because of that one negative review, Abby suggested I go find 2 more reviews, and I did, and I had to pay for these. I mean, the first reviews you don't pay for. I had to pay $250 to each reviewer, $500. And they were wonderful reviews, wonderful. So then Abby took that plus the other, and she took it back, went back to the table. And then there was one person that was afraid to go forward with it because of that one negative review. But that's okay, because I am a woman of faith. I'm a Christian. I believe that God could engineer a failure and then mastermind a success. So I was like, okay, that's all right. Well, I'll find some. But anyhow, that's on the path to publishing. I did take my manuscript to the California Memoirs Writers Group. I met agents, I met movie directors, I met everybody out there. And they tell you this: we really don't know why you came. We publish celebrities. If you are a celebrity, we'll take you right now. If you are someone that's living with a really bad hardship, or like you have a child that has cancer, we'll take that. And there was a third category, but it was illness or something, like if I had been in big crime or embezzling or something in government, they said they would take that. So I flew back to West Virginia, and I'm this kind of person. I don't give up. Okay, you just like that tire in that dump. I've got to get this tire up to my daddy. I've got to do this. I've got to thaw those water pipes out. And I'm not bragging or not boasting, but one secretary at this past school I worked at, she looked at me one day and she said, Kathy, you're the only person that I know that does not have 24 hours in a day. She said, you have 36. Or somehow God gave you 36 because I was busy at school. I was the language arts chairman. I was over the yearbook and journalism. Oh my gosh, there was faculty senate chairman for so many years. And there was just so many things. I took my students to Bridge Day. I don't know if you know what Bridge Day is. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I took my students out. I was all the time. There were field trips I would do. Anything I could to expand their world and let them see this is what you need to do. You need to think about the world, what's out there. But I did that, and I was blessed to take them on several other field trips. Anything I could do to help them. But I don't regret anything I've done being a secretary for those 10 or 12 years. It taught me how to be organized, how to file. And my husband says all the time, he'll say, where is so-and-so? And I'll say, second drawer down, extreme left back corner. He'll say, how do you know that? That's just it. But I'll be quiet now, and I welcome your questions and try to tell you mostly about myself. And I'm married. I have three grown children, and I have 3 grandsons. And so I feel really blessed, really blessed.
If you're going to ask questions, make sure you pick up the microphone on your table. And if you don't have one, someone will hand you one. But talk into it so the folks on TV can hear you. First of all, I just want to say that I particularly loved the chapter Relatives. I thought that was awesome.
Thank you.
It was just fun, and wasn't really sad at all. It was very interesting.
Thank you.
But my question is, having grown up with such poverty, how did you handle children that you were teaching that might have been going through similar experiences? Did you deal with those kids differently than you did with the rest of the student population?
That's a good question. First of all, the rules and procedures in my classroom were for everyone. But I knew, oh my goodness, I knew who you were. I would not let you disappear in my room. No one ever disappeared. And this is what my little secret was. We had grade books back then. I think now they do everything electronically. Even when they put all the grade books online, I still kept my grade book. And this was my system. Everybody's name is in alphabetical order. And I had color coded. I knew the ones that were in special ed. Maybe you got a blue dot. I knew the ones that had 504s, you got another dot. I knew if you were a behavior problem, I knew if you were slow, you performed slow or slower, you needed extra time. I knew that. And before you ever came into my classroom, I'd look at my color dots. I taught the lesson for everyone, but then I knew that I needed to walk around. And I knew, like this blue dot person, they're going to have trouble. They didn't understand. I also know I was so blessed to study under Dr. Ruby Payne. They brought her in from Texas. I was a Ruby Payne fellow trainer. I was trained. Gosh, when I learned from that lady, I thought, oh my gosh, this is what they're like. She taught us that they come from noisy, chaotic environments. She taught us that they needed a significant other in their lives. And I tried to be that. She taught us about backward planning, that you just cannot stand up there and say, okay, got a book report to do 2 weeks. Go library tomorrow and pick one out. You have to keep your mind of them like, okay, everybody started. You should have finished like chapter 1 by now. Or let's see. Also, I learned this, that you don't just assign like a 3-page report on a river or on this or on that. It's my responsibility to get up and walk around. So today we're going to write the opening paragraph. So it's constant. We'll walk around and say, okay, oh, that looks good. Let's write that topic sentence. You show them they need that. It's not that you're giving them a crutch. You're spending extra time with them. You're teaching them. You're training them so they can learn. And by the way, I'll say this. I got to say this, being a teacher, rules, policies, procedures must be taught before you go to the book. Now, I've talked with a lot of teachers that will say, well, I'm going to get that book out on day 1. They pay me to teach math. I'm going to get it out. We're going to do page 1, 2, and 3. I never did that. Rules, policies, and procedures are important. I don't care. Dr. Ruby Payne says you don't excuse them because they're poor. Nobody excused me. You worked. So I remember like the first day, the kids, they're changing classes, in middle school. I taught 8th grade. They would come through the halls rowdy, and I'm in the hall. I'd say, shh, slow down. Don't run. You'll get down the cafeteria. Don't run. And sometimes I'd pull them aside and I'd say, why are you running for? It's okay. Take your time. That held them up about 5 seconds. So the next time they went down the hall, they're not going to run past me. But if they come in my room super loud, like the first day, super loud, jumping from chair to chair, fighting, I say, oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, just a minute. Oh, guys, wait. Let's all go back outside. We got to try this again. And I said, line up by the lockers. And I'd say, we're going to go in quietly. Mom, the only rule I have is enter room quietly. We're going to go in quietly. We're going to sit down. Now, where you're going to sit doesn't mean that's going to be your chair, because I have seats. We're going to be quiet. And then I always had their table up there. I said, this is your paper. These are your ink pens. This is your stapler. I always did that for them. And I always say, I'm going to be here for you no matter what. You tell me. If you need extra paper to take home tonight, you ask me. If you need extra pencil, you ask me. So I tried to be there for them, if that helps. Thanks.
That's something like that. Yeah. I noticed that you encountered a lot of thoughtless comments from some of your teachers and other adults, like the one who insisted that everybody buy their ball game passes for a quarter, and others, who punished you because you didn't bring a pencil, or things like that. I mean, they were just very insensitive. Plus, of course, the opposite. You experienced some very compassionate and helpful adults. But one thing that struck me is I did not see resentment from you for the insensitive things that people would say. You just seem to accept it. Is that true, or is that just the perspective of you now as an adult looking back, and you really did resent it at the time?
Thank you for that question. That's really good. Goodness gracious, I was flagged many times when people would read this book. They would say, a true memoir reflects. And they'd say, Kathy, you're telling us this, but you're not reflecting. You've got to tell us what you were thinking. And this is what I said. I can't tell you what I was thinking back then, because I didn't think. I did what I was told. And I started this book like when I'm in the dump. That was my earliest recollection, in the dump. And I said, as I got older and as awareness sort of slipped in as to what was happening, or if there was an adult being mean to me, I sort of, as I was aware, I let you know, oh, wow, they did this or they did that. And that stayed true, because somebody else, they were saying that. And I told them, I said, this is the only way I know how to write it. When I was 5 years old, I did this. When I'm 6, I was 8. I'm telling people what I lived through, what I went through with. And it was only until later in the book that you see as I got older, then I was able to tell you what was going on. But I'm asked that all the time. And by the way, I learned, the 7th grade teacher, the math teacher, the first day of school that collected a quarter and a penny. I thought, she's wanting a quarter and a penny. I don't have any money. But anyhow, she went around, she took that red shoe off and she was collecting money. And that was so hurtful. That was very hurtful when she put that ticket on my desk. But guess what? That taught me to be prepared. That taught me to be organized. So that's when I went to the principal's office. I thought, sure, they must have some kind of a listing, like when ball games are going to be. And I did. I went up and down the alleys and I'd ask to wash dishes, whatever. If I had any free time, I'd wash dishes. And back then, I think they gave you, it was 35 cents, like a quarter and a dime, if you'll wash somebody's dishes for them or something like that. And I always paid it. And, she just didn't want study hall. I think the rule back then, the principal was like, if you have anyone left in your homeroom that didn't go to the ball game, you have to keep them in study hall. Well, she didn't want anybody in study hall. She wanted to say all my students went, whether she went home or whatever. But that's a good question. Thank you.
I mean, reading it, I'm indignant, that you're right, I'm sorry. Reading it, I was indignant, that how insensitive, and these are teachers that should know better, or other adults in positions of authority.
Yeah.
And they should know better. And, it was, I'm sure, obvious to the world that you didn't have, that you were poor, that you didn't have money.
Yeah.
And yet they were that insensitive, and it burned me up. It made me angry at them.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, in further answer to that, I know you've read this so many times. It says a student might not remember everything that you taught them, but they will always remember how you made them feel. So if I could make them feel in my classroom, I would always say, you'll be safe in here. You will be safe. You can tell me anything you need to tell me. And I had to tell you this. Being an 8th grade teacher, I taught 7th grade and 8th grade. You get, as time wore on, you get students that want to come and just lay down their head. And I'm going to this is just reading class. I'm going to take a snooze. I'm going to go to sleep. And I had a policy, zap it. Zeros aren't permitted in my class. You're not going to put your head down and go to sleep. And I would aggravate you to death. In other words, you've heard somebody say they could talk a praying mantis out of praying. I was that. I would walk around the room and I'd say, oh, sit up. Put your name right there. Get your name. I'll be back in a minute. Put your name. What? Come on, put your name down. I'll be back in a minute. Then I'd walk around and say, oh, I said, number 1. Okay, blah, blah, blah. What was this? Okay, you know that. Look on page 10 right there. And I thought, honey, it's not going to happen in here on my watch. Put your name on your paper. You're going to start on number 1. And then after that, we're going to start on number 2. It's like there was a writing book, and that she might know this, Devin might. It's called Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. And now I might have the story a little bit off, but I know one of these books she wrote, her son waited to the very last minute to do a bird collection that he had homework in. I think they were supposed to draw a bird and put the name under it and maybe tell 2 or 3 facts about it. And he waited to the last minute that night. It was about, I don't know, 7 o'clock. She said something about homework. And he said, oh, yeah, I just got a bird collection due tomorrow, but I just take a 0. And according to the book, she whipped him out of there. She, when I say whipped him, she not physical. She went to the store and they got colored pencils or typing paper, whatever. And she made him stay up all night. He said, Mom, no, I'll just take a 0. See, it's the easy way out. And she said, no, son, we're going to do it bird by bird. And so step by step. So I was thinking of that all the time when I was in the classroom. I thought, how do you get your goals accomplished? How do you do anything in life? How did I get from where I was back then, a little poverty girl begging on the streets? How did I get this? It's you set goals and you do it bird by bird. You take it step by step. And that's what I still do today, no matter. I have lists to do every day. And my husband's like, how can you get all that done? I'm like, bird by bird, David. And he'll say, what? I said, David, you just don't understand, but go ahead. Thank you.
Another question? Another question. I'm just curious because if I had to recall my childhood, there wouldn't be very many stories. But you've got such great detail. And I mean, granted, your life was different than mine, okay? So probably more memorable experiences. But I'm just wondering, were you remembering those stories as you were growing and then a young adult and some of that stuff? Or was it that you were waiting until you started writing and then you're like, okay, I remember this and I remember that. I'm just curious about the whole process.
That's a good question. When Dr. Fran Simone, I wrote those 3 pieces for her that summer. She said, keep writing, keep writing. I said, well, she said, Kathy, keep some index cards with you in your purse, in the car. She said, you're going to be out. You're going to be thinking, somebody will say something, somebody will say a phrase, that's going to make you think of something like, for example, burn barrel. So I said, yeah, we used to burn garbage. Oh yeah, burn barrel. And you could tell what somebody was burning based on the smoke. A house fire is different from burning an old tire, burning garbage. So you learn details like that. So I had so many cards that sometimes I'd be at a restaurant, I'd grab a napkin and I'd write on it. So I had this file. I would take it home, and it's called Pieces to Write. And I threw everything in there. And then I started going through them. And then depending on being a teacher, when you work from September through June, I mean, you barely get time to do anything. And then summer, you're in a mad dash to clean the house really good. So you might have just a little bit of time left. But I would pull out a card. I'd go through the card and think, okay. And if I'd say, oh, yeah, I could write about this Democrat rally. I remember that. And this was my process. I always would do the sun ray. I would draw a circle in the middle of the page, and I put Democrat rally. And sometimes you know what the title is, sometimes you don't. Then I would draw sun rays out from that. I think, what did I see? What did I hear? What did anybody? I use the 5 senses: see, hear, touch, and I do that. And then I let it get cold for a day or so, then go back and add more detail. Then I look at it, I think, oh, I'm going to start out with this as we're entering the field house. Oh, right here. And I would number it, and that sort of helped me write the pieces. But I forgot your question.
Well, it just was when you going through this stuff in your mind.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Growing up for it. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. She wants me to elaborate on it. Okay. I did this too. You got to remember, memory is strengthened when you keep revisiting it. When somebody says it. Now, Mom and Dad would sit on that old porch at night. We didn't really have a working TV all the time. And they would say, do you remember that time when we took that preacher that load of coal? And he looked like he had more than we did, or something like that. And then I would listen. I'm thinking, I remember, but you didn't ask questions back then. You listened. You paid attention to your parents. You listened. You didn't interrupt them. And I think, yeah, I remember that. Or do you remember that time that I used to take Katherine picking up coal? And you remember that time? You remember that time? You remember that time? So strengthened. And this is the same thing that you have. Almost in all of our homes, we have what we call a miscellaneous drawer. In the kitchen, I might have a hammer, a couple of batteries, a few little popsicle sticks. I mean, just everything. And you think, oh, I'm going to clean that out once and for all. We clean the kitchen and all the drawers, but not that drawer. I'll get that later. So your memory is like a lot of times you open up that drawer and you start picking out things. Oh, I remember this. A lot of times we pick that memory up, we turn around and we look at it and say, oh, I remember you. I remember that day at the river. And we'll put it back in. We save it. So memory can be strengthened. Also, smell is the greatest of all the 5 senses. It is smell that helps you to remember more things. Like in the classroom, I bring in little cotton balls, put them in little Ziploc baggies. Like I put alcohol in one, maybe cinnamon in one, maybe a ladies' cologne or something like that. And I put my students in writing in groups. And I would always, safety first, open it up and just sort of tap the bag. Let the little, come, don't ever sniff the cinnamon. I wouldn't use cinnamon right now. But I said, there's a memory going to come out of there. There's a memory waiting for you. And then they could write good little stories like the alcohol, like waiting to get a shot. That's where they hurt their knee, they broke their arm. And there's always something there, but memory is really strengthened. So that's how I would do it. I would come up with the idea. I think, oh my gosh, then I did things like this. I wrote down like 1952, 53. I did the years. And I think, what happened in 52? I was born. What happened in 56? I started first grade. What happened? Was there anything special? I'd do the years. Then I would write down January, February, March, April, May. I'd write what happened special in January, February. Do I have anything? Boy, you're going to get a lot of information like that. I mean, just, if there's somebody's birthday or something. So that really helped. If you would see the pre-writing, the things that I did just to get the novel. You might think, oh, wait, she sat down and just wrote that. No, I went to Hyman, Kentucky. Dr. Fran Simone said, I want you to go to Hyman, Kentucky. And she said, there'll be good writers over there at the Appalachian Writers Workshop. And I met Lee Smith first time. And she read my stuff. She said, oh, this is awesome. I met Sharon McCrum over there. Several other people, I can't put my name on right now, but they helped. They would tell me, what to do. And that's why Lee Smith, she gave me a blurb because she told me, she said, when you get this book written, and I know that there'll be a book, she said, you let me, you call me, I'll do a blurb. And she also wanted to read, she read several chapters before. So I had a lot of help along the way. A lot of people rooting for me, like Kat Pleska, people at West Virginia writers, certain people that would come in, and a lot of people were rooting for me in my corner to get this book finished. But it took it. I did not write it from the first page like that. No, there were just different scenes. I remember like the Blackberry story, Democrat rally. David, my husband, the squirrel. One day I was laughing, and I remember he came to pick me up on the first date. He had dead squirrels in the back end, and I went with him. It was either look back at that poor house and what's in there to go back to, more work, more laundry, or go with him. So we still laugh about it today. I said, remember that time you come up with the squirrels? So yeah, and I'm asked this, like, were there any chapters very hard to write? Absolutely. I cried and I cried and I cried when I was trying to write American Bandstand the day that Mom ran away. I mean, I could see that just so right there, what I was doing first, second, third, and what I was thinking, blah, blah, blah. So I cried on that one. And then I laughed and I laughed when I wrote the Roach story. That was just, but yeah, so, and I laughed about the Halloween story when Mom lost all of her candy. Okay, next question. Yes.
Let me ask a check in on online here. I'm sorry. Anyone online have a question?
No one has raised their hand yet or chatted anything in, but we didn't kind of go through that prologue at the beginning for them either. So
we didn't. So folks online, if you do have a question, you can put it in chat or raise your hand. Megan's going to pay attention, and so we can make sure you also get included. Go ahead.
Mrs. Manley, you seem to be a teacher that was influenced by the phrase, if we know better, we do better. And your experiences, I think, really shaped you as a teacher, just in reading your book and hearing you speak. But you faced some great challenges, and I just want to give you the kudos you deserve for taking those negative experiences and using them to the good in your school system and to influence young kids.
Thank you.
I was heartbroken over your first grade teacher and how that experience was for you. So my question is, I heard you say that you always wanted to be a teacher. So who influenced you the most to be a teacher, or what influenced you the most to be a teacher?
That's a good question. You're not going to believe this, but I wanted to be a PE teacher because I love PE. The PE teacher loved me, and she always let me go do the example, like whether it was on a trampoline. And I was really good on the trampoline, ladies. Oh, I could do a flip and a twirl and go up and come down. And have you ever just watched somebody do something with they're making biscuits, or you're thinking, I can do that. I can do that. But she always would let me do that. And I was the leader of had to do those exercises back then. But I wanted to be a PE teacher. And this is sometimes when people say something, they don't know they can destroy your dream. I told somebody, like whatever in high school, I said, I want to be a PE teacher. And they said, you can't even swim. I've only been in the river like 2 or 3 times. That's where you swim. We're in the river 2 or 3 times. Okay. And just sit there and float with, sit there and play with rocks, all that. But she said, you can't even swim. And she said, and you can't even play ball, or you can't do that. She said, that's what you have to do. She said, when you take those PE classes, you have to swim and you have to be able to play ball and basketball. And I thought, I can't play ball. I can't bat. I can't, because when we did try to go out, I'm left-handed and I really wasn't good at batting. And I would catch the ball, but I would take the mitt off. Then I had to throw. I'd catch it with one hand, then I had to take it and throw it with the other because this just didn't make sense. But I really wanted to be a PE teacher. And then when my heart was broken when I thought I can't be a PE teacher. But then I didn't know until later on that somebody said, they teach you. They show you those things. I'm like, oh, okay. But then I went to Marshall and got my elementary degree. And this was back in the day when you didn't have any online classes. You got in the car. That car knew the way down Route 10. All I could get and just say, go, take me there, and it did. But it was long and hard. But now it's easier. I mean, you've got online classes and you've got so many things. But thank you for asking that.
The more you talk and the more I think about the book, it's almost like, or I wonder if your dad, some of the qualities that you have seem like those that he, well, at least that we read about, that, I mean, when I think about, his losing his leg and he just kept going.
He did. He had a good work ethic, and somebody asked me that before another engagement, and it got me thinking. I did get my work ethic from my father. He got up every day. He strapped that old peg leg on, and he went to work. I mean, not out in the world, but I mean, fixing water pipes, trying to repair the roof, picking blackberries, begging on the street. I mean, he was always trying to do something, but he worked a lot, and mom did too. Mom worked all the time, and I come to realize, later on, my brother and I talked, and he said mom was a child when she got married. And then she kept having children. And she was just tired of it. She couldn't hold on. She was tired of living in poverty, not having anything. And she just let go. She left. But dad stayed with us. And I helped him with my brother and my sister. So, yeah, good work ethic. Now, Dad would always say this. Dad would say, don't ever tell anybody your business, because then they're going to know what you know and what they know. They're going to know more than you. And then he would say, and he would never let anybody and I hate to bring this up since yesterday, but he would never let anybody put a campaign sign in the yard, or he would never put a bumper sticker on his vehicle, because we were, like I said, we're welfare. And he was just scared to death. Oh gosh, after being cut off welfare that first time, after we were trying to pick up lumps of coal to pay for the baby's funeral, he was scared to death. Mom and Dad lived in fear every day that they were going to be cut off welfare again. And back then, we tried to help the welfare check. We tried to pick up lumps of coal. We begged on the street to try to bring extra money. But today, you can do whatever you want to do.
I was wondering about that. Is
Yeah,
the
you
system the same or it's not?
No, you can do pretty much it. So, okay, there were no agencies back then like there are today. There's everything from, oh my gosh, there's like 15, 20 things I had written down. There's, of course, they have the food stamps today. They have the WIC coupons. There's Social Security Disability. There are the backpacks, the food that they put for children. All this is needed. All this is necessary. There are the Christmas baskets given out, Thanksgiving baskets. In September, we have something called Fill the Bus. They park a big school bus at the Walmart, and you put in composition books and pencils and ink pens. We had nothing like that back then. It was like you did it all. I wrote in the book, like, it was hard for Mom and Dad to come up with money. You had to buy spelling workbook, reading workbook, math workbook. You had to do all that. Man, times have changed. And it makes me angry. I'm asked all the time, since we have so much available today and so many agencies out there, why do we have so many dropouts? Why do we have so many kids on drugs? Why do we have people not working? Because it's being given to them. They're not being held accountable or responsible. It wasn't like that in my time. But now there's no excuse. And I tell students, there's no excuse for you to drop out of school. There's no excuse for you not to walk across that stage and get your diploma and go to work and get a job. There's jobs out there. There's no excuse. You have to want it. And I tell my students all the time, I told them, I'd say, years ago, they were worried about the middle-aged person, 45. Oh, we're going to a crisis. Oh, I'm 45. I'm looking old. I haven't done anything. Oh, whoa, look at me. I didn't reach my goals. I said, that's not like that anymore. The big thing now is the quarter age, where you're 25, a quarter of 125, and you're still living at home on the couch. You're with grandma. You're not doing anything. Grandma's buying your cigarettes and all this, and I hate to step on toes, but it needs to be stopped. What is it? If you keep on doing the same old thing, you're going to keep on doing what you've always got. And we're the only one that can stop that. So there's rules, policies, and procedures, things that we need to be doing to help our children and our students, to be more successful, to get out and they need more mentoring, more models, more people in their corner trying to explain things to them. And I think schools are so busy that I feel sorry for teachers because there's so many mandates that they have to teach this. And the teachers, they're like, I don't have time to be a significant other. I don't have time to really care about Johnny. But it's stuff that you work into the day. And it's just a smile, a hug. Hey, Johnny, how are you? Hey, Johnny, I passed through the gym the other day and I saw you make a basket. They're all crying out for it. I mean, this is West Virginia. We hear about the brain drain. We hear about, what's left over an older community for retirement, but we can turn it around. I'm a firm believer. I mean, don't tell me no. I mean, there's a way. When I had my third child, I was almost 40, and I remember the first week off from hospital, things were chaotic. It was like crazy. And I thought, I got to get a hold of this. So my two daughters, they were 10 and 13. And I remember I put them on a point system and they still laugh about it today. But I wrote down things that I needed done, like make your bed, bring down your clothes, fold a load of towels, pre-supper, set the table, fix the Kool-Aid, get out the silverware. And then after post-supper, break the plates, put them in the sink, clean off the table. I did stuff like that. And so you got so many points, maybe take out a bag of garbage. And oh boy, the first week they got me. Oh, the first week they did nothing. And the rule was you had to have 300 points by Friday at 5 o'clock before you went out. Like go to a movie, go to a friend's house, have a sleepover. And oh boy, they got me. So this old new mom hadn't thought through that. And they came home from school 3 o'clock and they raced around like little hound dogs. They made the bed, they brought down they did everything, and they got those 300 points and they left at my mom going to the movies. And here I'm with the baby. I thought, wait a minute. And I sat down, I thought, I'm changing this. 5 into 300 because excuse me, yeah. See, 60, had to get 60 points. And see, is that right? Yeah. Wait a minute. 60 points a day. Did I do that right? Yeah. Okay. So I put the new thing on the refrigerator, and I said, every day you have to earn 60 points. And here it is. I had up there. Make your bed, bring down your clothes, hang up your clothes, whatever it was. And oh my gosh, life was wonderful then. They started doing it. And then come Friday, I wasn't so stressed here. I had the new baby and I was still working. Yeah. So that worked out quite well. So I guess you could say, I said this in a book, we drink fatalism in the water in Southern West Virginia, but I learned to spit it out. Mm-hmm. Don't tell me what you cannot do. Tell me what you can do, what you're able to do. So when I travel around, I speak to students and I try to motivate them and encourage them and give them talks and things. I say, they love when I tell interesting things like Halle Berry. I said, Halle Berry, she makes $30 a minute. I think it's Tiger Woods makes $175 a minute. Mm-hmm. And then the next is Steven Spielberg. I think he was like, oh gosh, let me see, maybe $650 a minute. Then I think the last one, Bill Gates, is like $6,500. But each one, I'm like, Halle Berry, why does she get paid? It's what she does. She's an actress. Then the next one, Tiger Woods, he's a golfer. Then and then the next one. But anyhow, and I tell them, I don't want you to think you have to make that much money, but I want you to be able to function in society. I want you to be able to take care of yourself. That's why you're put here. And I say, parents didn't have you just to own you and do. I said, parents' responsibility number one is to teach you how to function in society, that if they're ever gone, you can make it. So I do things like that with them. I mean, I just, don't tell them you're cold. It's opened up a lot of doors for me. And I'm very thankful. I've been fortunate enough to win a lot of awards. Gosh, can't even think right now. One of the 8 West Virginia authors. They painted our portraits and they're getting ready to unveil them. For the West Virginia, this is awful, I can't remember, West Virginia Literacy Award. So there were 8 of us, and I'm very thankful for that. And there's several things I just can't remember right now. I've been so busy. but anyhow, thank you.
I just wanted to say, throughout all of my reading of your book, I was so impressed
about all the things that you could do, even as a little girl. And so I'm sure that was your father's influence, that did that. And I mean, like changing the tubes in the back of the TV and things. I mean, just all of those things. Yes. And being able to do that as a tiny little girl. And I just think, oh my goodness, it's no wonder you are where you are and what you've done for the students in West Virginia that you have taught. And yes, thank you for writing this book, because it just, it really makes you stop and think. It really does. And I really appreciate
from
that.
Maryland to come meet you and see.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, I'm honored.
As you were reminiscing and making your note cards and thinking about all your memories and stories and your life, how were your siblings involved in your story? And did you check in with them when you were trying to remember certain events, or how were they supportive of your project or not? Or did this bring up sad, bad, terrible memories of their life too?
They do not remember as much as I did. Remember, I was like 14-ish when Mom ran away. Right. So -5, my sister was like 9, and then my little brother was like 7. They do not remember that much. Now they remember sort of like what the house looked like, and I don't even know if they remember well the day that Mom ran away. But no, when I first started writing, I had like 7 or 8 chapters. I took over and let my sister read. And this was like maybe, Bubblegum Man, Fearful Blackberry Story, Democrat Rally. And she said, where was I? She said, where was I? And so then as I started putting it together, I realized that when you do a memoir, you have to, I was told you have to put everyone in there. It's warts and all. Everybody has to be in there. And so in the first chapter, I was told you have to include everybody in that family. I can't wait till like 3rd chapter to introduce my little baby sister. You can't do that. So I had to go back, and the timeline was very important, because on the first chapter, I have Daddy and I going to the dump, and then Mom is there on the porch. I remember my little baby's little sister. And then Noah didn't come till much later. But no, they really didn't say anything. And when the book came out, I gave Margaret a copy, and she was, real happy, real proud of it. And then my brother, he and his wife got a copy. So, and he lives in Pennsylvania, but my sister still lives in Chapmanville. So, but they were okay with it.
Want to check in on online. Any questions from folks who are joining us remotely? Megan, anybody?
You're very quiet tonight.
I have a comment. Yep. It's really strictly a comment. Am I doing this? First of all, I want to thank Nikki for doing this, for making us realize the importance of West Virginia authors. And when I picked your book up, Meredith Sue Willis from Shinston was in school with my husband, David. And so, right away, we felt like the connection with you because of Meredith Sue. And I just assume that you're connected with other West Virginia authors and do work together and have bonded. But I think Nikki's really helping us appreciate the fact that we have so much talent in West Virginia and so many stories to tell. And yours was really a wonderful story. So thank you for sharing it with us, and for Nikki, for doing this.
Thank you again, Nikki.
Well, my pleasure. This has been, it's selfish on my part. We get to get to read, we get to talk to the authors, and you get to see a different part of the state that maybe opens up, it makes you a more complete West Virginian, the more that we can read about others' experiences too. But no one online? No one? Anyone else here go ahead, Devin.
So when I was reading this book, I was actually reading the epilogue while I was at work, and I had held it together, pretty well throughout reading the book. I got emotional several times, but I got to the line in the epilogue where you are asking yourself, why have I plowed through every decade of my life with a full agenda? And I had to sit it down and take a lap around the office. That just hit hard. And, in that chapter, you're really kind of grappling with this idea of they're running towards something or running away from something and spending so much of your life kind of in motion. And at the end, you kind of finally let yourself be still. And I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit about what that journey was like to allowing yourself, for the first time to really just be still rather than, searching for something or running from something.
Thank you. That's a good question. And I hadn't realized that I was just busy, real super fast. I was coming back from a conference. Maybe it was the Association of Writers program, maybe from Philadelphia. Kat Plesk and I were driving back, and she had already accepted the manuscript. I think the manuscript, I signed the contract like in May, and it came out in September. And we were just talking back. I was sharing some things, and I was telling her about that last chapter there about the fingerprints. And I was just telling her that, and she listened. She says, "I want that in the book." I said, "Oh, it's just." She said, "No, that needs to be in the book. People need to understand, what you're about, blah, blah, blah." And she said that further gives them insight. So, I put it in the book, and then I read it, and I'll put it away. But then, you're not going to believe this, but the first time that I sat down and I really didn't have anything waiting, like the laundry was finished, the dishes were finished, supper was over. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is what it's like not to have anything to do. I thought, oh my gosh, but it's like my hands were so busy working all the time, all these years, whether I was teaching or writing on the board or doing grades or getting buses ready for field trip, just busy in the evening. And then while I was teaching, I retired in 2011, but 12 years back up, I was an adjunct teacher at Southern Community College for 12 years. I had 2 classes a week. In addition to teaching all day at the middle school, then I ran the after school programs from like 3 to 5. And after I put the kids on the bus, then I'd have a few minutes to scurry over there and get to the campus. And then I remember a couple of semesters I had like the class was like 5:15 to like 6:30ish, and then I had another class 6:30 to 9, and I was like busy. And I would stay up late at night, and I had to do timesheets for the workers, and I just kept busy. And on Sunday afternoon after church, I always went to Sunday school and church, and in between, I had that great big black bag, if you will, like a black briefcase, soft leather, that was for the college. I taught reading and writing, and then I had the big brown leather case for my school. And so I'd pull this one out, and then every day I'd go load them up. And I knew when I was getting ready to retire, but Kat Pleska looked at me, she said, "Don't you think about going back and teaching this fall?" I said, "What?" She said, "Your book's coming out, and you've got to go. You've got to be on the go. There's going to be people calling you to speak and everything." I said, "But I want to teach." I said, I love it. She said, "You can't. So that was why I wasn't able to teach you after 2019. And I remember the past few years, I was busy. Things just kept on. It's not stopped really since then. My father-in-law, I was a caregiver. That was it, caregiver. My father-in-law became very ill. He's like 92. And so I took care of him for like 15 months, and then he passed. And then Margaret, in the book, Margaret discovered she had stage 4 throat cancer. And so I was taking her back and forth for 15 months, driving her back and forth to Morgantown, surgery, radiation, the Charleston, everything. So I did that. And then right after that, my little grandson was born. And so I started helping taking care of him, because both my son and his wife, they work in the medical field, and 7 to 7, and those long hours of being nurses. So I helped take care of him. So I thought, wow. But just recently, I've been able to have some free time, and then like maybe back and forth. It just comes in bits and pieces. But when it comes, Devin, I love it. But I go back to the book and I'll think, oh, I said that I'm going to start resting now. but I thought you have to. I mean, family comes first, and you have to take care of family. That's what I think. You have to, take care of someone that needs help. So now I'm ready. The grandson is 3, so he's getting much, much better, and it's not like he's in diapers and bottles like he was. So I'm getting ready to write again. I have several things I'm thinking about. I've been asked so many times in my writing club there in Charleston, they wanted me to write about my life as an educator. And they said I had several stories to write. I remember my very, very first Christmas present. I mean, I graduated there in December '83, and they put me in a little country school, real country school. And I was there like a week before Christmas, and I rolled up my sleeves and went to work. And they said, now we're going to tell you something. This classroom has had about 7 or 8 subs since school started, and nobody will stay. But we're going to put you there full time. Go over there and you teach those kids. You roll up your sleeves and you teach those kids. And I thought, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But I remember, and the room was pitiful. It was stark naked, nothing. You can imagine sub after sub, nothing on the walls. Nothing. Here it was like a week before Christmas. And I went in, and I remember this little child said, this was 5th grade, said, are you going to be our teacher? And I said, yes, I will. I'm going to be here for the rest of the year. Then looked around and said, can we have a Christmas tree? The other rooms have a Christmas tree. And I said, yes, we will. So I remember I brought in Christmas, and I let them help decorate and everything. But I'll never forget this. The day right before we got out the Christmas, the last day, I went in. I had a basement room, and the water, you had to go down a hill to get to the school, and the water would run down the hill, mud, and then come into my room. So, and the students didn't have any books under their seats. They built shelves back here, didn't they? Every time, get your spelling book, get your morning books. Now put them back, get your afternoon books. But I remember this, and my chair was folded, it's rusted, old metal chair. And I asked if there was another chair. So I just got a towel and brought it every day. I sat on a towel until they got me one. But anyhow, I went in that morning, and there was a brown paper bag on my desk. And I thought, well, what's this? The custodians back then, they always went in, they opened up all rooms, turned on all lights. And I pulled it out. I didn't know what it was, but I had taken it next door to a teacher. I said, what is this? She said, honey, you got a jar full of the best shine and the holler. It was moonshine. And I said, it was mason jar. I said, what do I do with it? She said, I'll tell you what you do with it. She said, you thank that little boy. She said, I can tell you who it was. She said his name. She said, now for that little boy to go home and tell his grandpappy that he liked his teacher and he wanted to give her a Christmas present, she said, you take that and you hug him. And I said, but what do I do? She said, take it home. I said, no, I don't drink. She said, well, let me tell you, honey. She said, you pour it in a saucer and you strike a match to it. And if it's the real thing, it will burn a blue flame. And I did. I took it home and struck a match, and it did the blue flame. My husband was a coal miner. He came in then. I said, what are you doing? I said, this is moonshine that I got my first Christmas present. But I have several other little stories like that. So my next book, it might be something with my education, little stories with students and all that. So, but I'm not really sure. Then other people might want to hear something else more about, that. So.
Okay, any other last questions online? Last shot. Any other comments? Yeah. Well, we really, really appreciate you coming and sharing with us, and thank you for as I said, for the gift of your book. I do have to share. My task, so the burn barrel. We had 2 burn barrels, and one of my chores from very young. I mean, the trash bags were bigger than I was, and my job was to always carry the trash to the burn barrel and have to stand there to make sure it burned. You didn't just light it and leave. You had to stand there. And I remember it was, of course, this was in the 70s when we had those big snows. and I would go and I'd just be all bundled up, standing there, at the burn barrels. And I hadn't thought about the burn barrels for a long time till you wrote about it. So I was very, very grateful for that. So, but thank you so much. And like we said, we have other books if you want to get additional copies. If you want everybody online for joining us, and we hope you'll continue to do that in 2025. Thank you.